You smell of rotten leaves.
Rotten leaves? Aghast.
All the best people are crazy. All the best people are.
What's up, crazies? My name's Jessie, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am a digital intermediate engineer, also known as a conforming artist, who spent the last couple of years working in film post-production and can tell you a lot about how movies are made and what to notice while watching them. If I sound totally sick today, it's because I am, pun intended.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why there was no video last week on my second channel, Jessie Grace, where I usually sing, but I couldn't sing, so I'm sorry. I will make sure to get back to full health and be able to sing again and post next week. Today, I am especially excited because we are going to be watching one of the most incredible cinematic masterpieces ever put to film. I'm of course talking about the series The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Since season 2 is now streaming on Amazon Prime, I thought this would be the perfect moment to go back to season 1 and watch the first episode and try and answer the question that people have continually been asking. Why is this show the most expensive TV show ever made? Like, what's so special about it? And that is what I will answer today. So, how expensive was this show to make? Well, and this is crazy, one episode of The Rings of Power cost around $58 million to make.
Holy shit.
Which includes set design, casting, filming, visual effects, everything. Which brings the first season with 8 episodes to around $465 million in total.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this makes us all feel poor as church mice, I'm sure. Obviously, this is an insane amount of money. But let's take a closer look, shall we?
Nothing is evil in the beginning, and there was a time when the world was so young. There had not yet been a sunrise, but even then, there was light.
The episode starts out in the blessed realm of the elves, also known as Valinor. Here we meet our main protagonist, Galadriel, who tells us the story of how the realm was attacked by Morgoth and how the elves came to Middle-earth.
We had no word for death, for we thought our joys would be unending.
Wow.
We thought our light would never dim. So when the great foe Morgoth destroyed the very light of our home, we resisted, and a legion of elves went to war.
Wow. Dang, that shot with the boats, epic. Going back to this establishing shot of Valinor, this is obviously why this show is so expensive. Look at that. I get goosebumps looking at this. This is visual effects at its highest, most excellent quality. I mean, you know it's gotta be fake, right? Because, spoiler, Valinor doesn't exist. And yet, it seems so real because it's so well made. And as someone who works in this industry, I know how long this took. I mean, this shot is in there for like 10, 15 seconds max. Probably took them like 4 to 5 months to make, at least, if not longer, because look at that detail of every building, the mountain, waterfall, clouds, and lighting. I mean, look at this stuff.
Isn't it neat?
Need I say more?
Do I need to sing the song again?
No.
LOL.
The war left Middle-earth in ruin.
This kind of looks like Stranger Things Season 4. Galadriel devastatingly explains that the loss of the war was great.
Now we learned many words for death.
Meanwhile, Morgoth's orcs had spread through Middle-earth under the command of his most devoted servant.
A cruel and cunning sorcerer. They called him Sauron. My brother vowed to seek him out and destroy him. But Sauron found him first.
Galadriel vows to avenge her brother. And so, as the commander of the northern armies, she assembles a group of elven soldiers to hunt down her enemy, traveling to the icy north where he last was seen. Here we have another couple of incredible CGI shots that I was like floored when I first saw those. These actors are probably like hanging on a built set in a green screen studio somewhere, but it looks so real, you can't tell. And I have zoomed in like 500% in this picture, where the set stops and the CGI starts. And also, there is icy breath coming from their mouths. Wow! That's CGI, guys. They did that in Narnia too, by the way. Because, spoiler guys, they don't turn down the temperature of the set so much that everybody's freezing and then there's icy breath coming from their mouths. That's no. No. How long do you think that takes? Animating every single icy breath of every single elf in this scene? And you know, it's a detail maybe nobody really notices except if you're like a nerd like me, but it's there. It's a visual effect, you know, but they had to pay for that. Added to the list of why this is so expensive. If you just look at the details of the visual and the special effects, it just becomes obvious after like the first glance of looking at the show. It literally looks expensive if you know what you're looking at. There in the north, her party mutinies against Galadriel, and she is forced to retreat. Thus, she seeks out an old friend whom we get introduced to in an epic meadow.
Harold Elrond. At last,
Yes, it's almost as if I didn't wish to be found.
your friend has arrived.
She is here.
Elrond lives in Lindon, the capital of the High Elves, where the king resides. Wow. This is so beautiful. Oh my god. I kid you not. I've seen the first episode, I think, like 7 times in total because I'm still not over it. I'm still trying to grasp how they did this. Elrond rushes to Galadriel and welcomes his dear friend.
Elrond.
Lindon elje kavalisanen.
Lisanen mikavna.
Tell me everything.
This mark's very existence proves Sauron escaped. He's still out there. The question now is where?
So this symbol that you just saw, Galadriel also found engraved in her brother's chest when he died, and also like in the caves up north. No elf knows what it means, just that it's a symbol of darkness associated with Sauron. In their conversation is my favorite shot in the entire series. So far. I haven't seen season 2 yet. Look at that! This kind of camera angle I only know from K-drama. This shot is so incredible. And it's also so naturally implemented into their conversation. I love so many things about it. The blue waves and luscious cliffs to the right, the golden forest to the left, the blue garments of the elves that tie in the blue-yellow color combination. It's just a wow.
Wow.
One of the things I also absolutely adore about the show is that they gave every single species in Middle-earth their own individual assigned color palette. The elves are blue and yellow. The hobbits, or half-foots as they are called here, are red and green. The humans of the Southlands are brown and gray. And the dwarfs we see in later episodes are silver and gold. It's very subtle, but there was a lot of thought put into the clothing, its coloration and style, but also the color grading depending on where in Middle-earth the scene takes place. Because depending on what species is on camera at the moment and which colors are assigned to that species, those colors are then underlined in the color grading. And that's just cinematic perfection. Galadriel and her party receive honors from the High King for their brave pursuit over the centuries to remove darkness and its soldiers from Middle-earth. For their heroic actions, the king bestows upon them the highest reward, the journey across the sea to Valinor, where they will live forever in the Blessed Realm. After the ceremony, Elrond finds Galadriel in the Hall of the Fallen, looking at the statue of her brother. She tells him she will refuse the king's gift of returning to Valinor to continue hunting down Sauron, and a fight breaks out between them. So in this scene, I have my one and only complaint about the VFX in this show. Look at Galadriel's face, and then look at Elrond's face. What do you notice?
Can't you see it? Yeah.
Yes, they put a blurry beauty filter on her face. Not his, only on hers. And not even one like covering all of her face. No, just on some places in her face, like underneath the eyes and on her forehead. And I hate it. It looks so stupid because only half her face has pores and the other half is smooth. I mean, you could argue, well, she's an elf. She's supposed to look timeless and like have no wrinkles. Okay, I can get on board with that. But then why didn't they use the same filters on Elrond? She's older than him, mind you, by like 600 years. He has creases on his forehead and pores on his face. But still, they left that alone. Why?
Why?
I'll tell you why. Sexism and unrealistic beauty standards for women. A woman must never show any signs of aging, even if she's a fictional character, apparently. I have seen this so many times in my line of work where they desperately try to make a female actress look younger and then just smack a bunch of stupid beauty filters on her face that are not well made. Fun fact, Wednesday did that. If you like look at her cheeks of any detail shots of Jenna Ortega's face, her cheeks are like smoothed out. They look unreal smooth. That's a beauty filter. I've also seen it in shows that were remastered for online streaming like Netflix. And then you go and watch it on Netflix and suddenly you realize that Samantha from Sex and the City has half a face blurry and Carrie doesn't have dark circles under her eyes but blurry circles under her eyes. Dear Hollywood, please let just women be human, okay? Spoiler, we age. And that is normal. Tangent over, back to the show. Elrond convinces Galadriel to take the call and promises her that if there is any signs of evil returning to Middle-earth, that he will take upon this task of seeking it out and putting an end to it. We change sceneries and enter the Southlands, the lands of men. 2 elves arrive in a town and we find out they are part of the Watchmen elves of the region who have watched over the land for decades to ensure that the men of the Southlands would not turn to the side of the orcs as they had done in the war 1,000 years ago. One of the Watchmen elves, and my favorite character in the series, is called Arondir. Oh, I love that name. He does not say much, but you can always see everything on his face. Arondir is sweet on the healer of the town, Bronwyn, and thus decides to stay with her, even though they receive word that the Elven King has declared peace and the outposts in the Southlands are being disbanded. So remember what I said about color palettes? This is cool. Even though Arondir is an elf and their color palette is blue and yellow, he has adapted to the color palette of man. He is wearing gray, like the rest of the humans around him, but with a hint of blue in his cloak. This is open to interpretation, of course, but I believe this goes to show how invested he is in this country, in his region where he spent the last, I think, about 80 years. He's still an elf, hence the hint of blue, but he also has become part of the Southlands as well. Look at this shot. Now this is a screen background if I've ever seen one. Screenshot that. You're welcome. We cut back to Bronwyn, who is preparing healing powders with her son, Theo.
You're on a boil this morning.
Hardly slept. Mice were dancing a proper jig under the floorboards.
Again?
Last 3 nights, scratching and scraping. What's one of them doing here?
Also something very interesting to notice. Bronwyn is the only villager in her town who is wearing blue, a color actually belonging to the elven color palette. I think this is supposed to show her connection to the elves and set her apart from the rest of the town because she's the only one not hostile towards them but sees them as an ally rather than the enemy. During Arondir's visit, a man knocks at the healer's door with an infected cow. He tells them where it grazed, and together Arondir and Bronwyn go to check on the pastures.
How familiar are you with the townsfolk of Holden?
Very, I should hope. I was born there. Why?
The people of Holden were known for having been especially strong in their loyalty to Morgoth.
What did you just say? I'm talking about my friends. Close kin. I know them. There are good people there. Warden.
Meanwhile, Theo shows one of his friends that he found a piece of a mysterious sword under the floorboards in one of their barns. The sword handle turns out to have Sauron's symbol engraved upon it. Wonder what that means. Then we go over to the Sundering Seas, where Galadriel and her soldiers are heading on a boat to Valinor. The servant elves remove their armor and take their weaponry. The skies open in glorious light and the elves start singing. Galadriel is conflicted, and at the last moment, she grabs her dagger and jumps ship. And that was a dumb idea. Now you're in the middle of the ocean. Cool. You couldn't have jumped out sooner? Like, they were like literally there. She's still badass though. On another part of the continent, a Harfoot leader is watching the skies.
Like they're watching for something.
Watching for what?
Eleanor Brandyfoot, with your father's nose and always poking us into trouble.
Seta, please. Tell me.
The skies are strange.
And he's right. For in that same night, a meteor falls from the sky, seen across all Middle-earth. It hits right near the Harfoot camp. A curious Harfoot, Nori Brandyfoot, dares to approach the crash site, and in the center, she discovers something unexpected. Boom! Boom! That is how you end an episode and introduce a series. Everybody else, take notes. Let's move on to final thoughts. This truly is one of my most favorite episodes of anything ever. I absolutely love how they introduce every single character and their kind, and that every species in Middle-earth gets their own color palette, set design, and clothing. The amount of detail in every single shot makes me speechless. The CGI, as we have established now multiple times, is breathtaking and done in the highest quality I have ever seen. For someone who works in this field, this show is like a dream come true of perfection. And also, because I work in this field, I know how much work and effort, and especially how much time it took to make this and make it look as good as it does. For me, it's obvious why The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is the most expensive TV show ever made. I know that because I know what I'm looking at, because I work in the industry. What all of the projects in the Lord of the Rings universe also have in common that I love is they know how to take their time whilst not being boring. That's a very narrow line to walk, but you can always count on this. Any and every shot in the film has its purpose and a thought through reason for being there. If not for establishing, it's character development. If not for that, it's for aesthetics. If not for that, it's a plot device, and so on. There is always a reason for every shot. They are carefully selected and planned through to the last frame. Also, you may have noticed that I did not mention any mistakes that I noticed. It's because there are none.
What? What the?
This is unheard of. This is fucking unheard of. They have expunged every single possible audible and visual mistake that could have occurred while making the show. What? That also takes time and money because you need people to watch the whole thing in detail multiple times. And then when they find anything, and trust me, they did, because
Nothing is in the beginning.
they had to then repair those mistakes. Again, more money to be spent, but for an epic end result without any mistakes. People who complain about the show and say that it's lackluster and they don't understand why this costs so much, I just want to make aware of how much time it takes to make a movie and how expensive every single step is if you want to make it right.
Make it right.
Because you could have done this with a lower budget. You could have. But then you would have said, I can see the green spell on the actors, and I can see that they were in a green screen studio, and then you would have complained about that, because you would have been right. You have to understand, one episode is 1 hour long. There's 8 episodes. This is basically an 8-hour film. Do you know how much time that is? They shot for 382 days. That's 382 days of footage to look through alone. Not calculating in the factor that they had to build all the sets, make all the costumes. Then they had to buy the copyright rights to even make this show. They obviously spend a lot of time making this. As we all know in this industry, time equals a money. But they took that $500 million budget and they made a masterpiece. This show is worth every single cent. Fight me? Please don't. I don't like to fight. But just look at it. You don't see anything like it anywhere else.
You have made that plain.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want me to watch more of The Lord of the Rings of Power, let me know in the comments down below, and also feel free to suggest anything else that I should watch next or in the future. Also, tell me what you think of the show in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did. As I said, season 2 is now streaming on Amazon Prime, so it's a great time to get into it. Be sure to follow my social media. You'll find the links to my TikTok and my Instagram down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and also to my second channel, Jessie Grace, where I am starting out as an indie musician. Turn on notifications to never miss an upload, and all the amazing content coming your way. Stay crazy. See you next time. Bye! If I were to work on this show, that would be like the highest honor, I feel. This and Bridgerton. My God. Let's manifest that. I'm gonna be in one of the credits of those 2 shows. Woo!